Today's ride finishes in Pisa's Piazza dei Miracoli, beside its famous Leaning Tower. Pisa is on the Tuscan seaboard, and I'm looking forward to enjoying a Pisan dish I first sampled many years ago, anguilla in umido, eel from the Arno, slow stewed in tomatoes and wine. Eel is actually a very delicious and easy fish to eat, as it has cartilage rather than bones, and its oily richness is very nutritious for the riders to prepare and fortify themselves for the immense challenges that still lie ahead. Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. My gastronomic Giro d'Italia 2025 continues as the race recommences for its second week after yesterday's rest day. The stage race started 9 days ago in the country of Albania, then crossed the Adriatic to Italy's deep south, to Puglia, up through Basilicata to Campania, across to Abruzzo, and into the central Italian regions of Le Marche, Umbria, and Tuscany. This first week has already brought excitement, spills, and thrills. Who would have thought that the Dane, Mads Pedersen, of the Little Trek team would have been wearing the Maglia Rosa or pink jersey for much of the week, having won 2 stages? Primoz Roglic briefly claimed it on the second day after the individual time trial, but Mads wasn't ready to relinquish it and snatched it back with his second victory in Albania, holding on to it until the first mountaintop finish in Abruzzo on the high slopes of Tagliacozzo. Though the young Spaniard Juan Ayuso stretched his legs and won that climb to claim the stage victory, it was Roglic who grabbed back the pink jersey. He only kept it for another single day, though, for Diego Ulissi, an Italian from Tuscany, managed to break away in Le Marche and hold out against a chasing peloton to claim the coveted jersey, bringing great joy to the home nation. And then there was the dramatic final stage of the week, from Gubbio to Siena, which saw just about everything. Crashes and punctures to the leading GC contenders, skill and bravery to take on the dry, slippery and steep Strade Bianche of Tuscany, finishing with a cruel uphill salita into the famous Piazza del Campo. Wout van Aert, a Belgium rider known for his combativity, managed to just about hang on to the wheel of Isaac Del Toro, emptying the tank completely, then slipping out to snatch the stage victory in the most dramatic and exciting manner. But for Del Toro, the prize was to take the pink jersey. So after 9 stages of racing, a look at the GC General Classification leaderboard shows how much there is still to play for. Del Toro is in pink. Juan Ayuso at 1:13 back from the Maglia Rosa. The Italian darling Giulio Ciccone at 1 minute 41. The British Yates twins at 1:42, Simon, and 2:01, Adam. And Primoz Roglic, the favourite, now languishing back at 2:25. All of this can and will change in the coming days, which is what makes this 3-week marathon that crosses all of Italy over all its glorious and varied terrain so very exciting. Mads Pedersen, meanwhile, retains a cyclamen jersey, while Lorenzo Fortunato is proudly wearing the blue jersey, the Maglia Azzurra, for the King of the Mountains. So lots of excitement during the first week, and much, much more to come in the final 2. I can't wait. Here's what I'll be eating and drinking. Day 10, Lucca to Pisa, 28.6 kilometers, 150 meters of climbing. An individual time trial, the race against the clock, or race of truth as it is also called, requires maximum effort. Nothing else will do. There is little altitude to negotiate on this short run from Lucca to Pisa. This is still a course that requires great technical skill to shave mere seconds off by choosing the best line, and the ability to ride the entire duration at the maximum power that can be sustained and still be able to stand up straight at the finish. Today's ride finishes in Pisa's Piazza dei Miracoli, beside its famous Leaning Tower. Pisa is on the Tuscan seaboard, and I'm looking forward to enjoying a Pisan dish I first sampled many years ago, anguilla in umido, eel from the Arno, slow stewed in tomatoes and wine. Eel is actually a very delicious and easy fish to eat, as it has cartilage rather than bones, and its oily richness is very nutritious for the riders to prepare and fortify themselves for the immense challenges that still lie ahead. Eel is rich enough to stand up to pairing with red wine, too, so I'm going to suggest that we share a bottle of Badia di Marronna's Vigna Alta Terre di Pisa DOC, a beautifully balanced 100% Sangiovese that is the flagship of this former monastic estate located in the wine hills between Pisa and Volterra. Day 11. Viareggio to Castelnuovo nei Monti, 186 kilometers with 3,850 meters of climbing. The passage northwards from the Tuscan seaboard at Viareggio into the province of Reggio Emilia in Emilia-Romagna entails crossing the Tuscan-Emilian Apennines, which, by no means the highest mountains in Italy, can nonetheless be absolutely brutal, with one Category 1 ascent of San Pellegrino in Alpe that features a gradient that rears up to 20%, or 1 in 5, the steepest stretch of the entire Giro. Once that mountaintop summit has been breached, the route continues over twisting mountain roads and furthers up ups and downs before reaching Castelnuovo nei Monti, which, as its name suggests, is nestled in the folds of the foothills of the Apennini. After the rigors of yesterday's individual time trial, the major protagonists may well be content to let a breakaway form, presenting no direct threat to GC leaders, to escape from the main bunch. We will see. What to eat? What to drink then? Personally, I've always been someone who prefers savory to sweet for breakfast, so I might just slip in a sneaky bowl of caciucco, the famous fish stew or soup of Viareggio, before jumping on my virtual bicycle to follow the peloton over the mountains. Castelnuovo nei Monti is the gateway to one of Italy's richest gastronomic provinces, Reggio Emilia, famous for Parmigiano Reggiano, cured salumi, traditional aceto balsamico. Yes, the real thing comes from here as well as Modena, and one of Italy's best loved, if sometimes misunderstood wines, Lambrusco. I'm looking forward to snacking on chunks of fresh 24-month-old Parmigiano Reggiano, a torta fritta with prosciutto to eat with the hands, and then perhaps a big slice of erbazzone, a typical savory pie made here in the mountains with wild herbs as well as with vegetables such as spinach and chard, washed down with a lightly foaming, raspingly bone-dry tumbler or two of Lambrusco Reggiano from Medici Ermete, the lively and fresh acidity and deep blackberry fruit invigorating after a day spent crossing the mountains. And to finish, since we're in the mountains where the art of home distilling continues, I might just have a tot, but only one mind, of homemade nocino, made from green walnuts infused in alcohol and sugar, a traditional digestivo after meals. Day 12. Modena to Viadana, 172 kilometers with 1,700 meters of ascent. A not entirely flat route that leaves the ancient Roman Via Emilia at Modena to head over the wine hills where different varieties of Lambrusco are cultivated, before descending once again to the Pianura Padana, the broad and fertile Po Valley that is the source of so many outstanding things to eat and drink. Today's final destination is actually on the northern side of the Po, at Viadana, just into Lombardy. And it is a day that the sprinters' teams will be looking forward to, one of the few opportunities when they will be able to jockey for position in order to place their team leaders in the perfect position for the final eyeballs-out sprint to the finish, a test of teamwork, technical precision, bravery, and sheer, raw, unadulterated power. Modena is, of course, one of the great food cities of Italy, famous for its tortellini, usually served in brodo, for its cured meats like prosciutto di Modena and zampone, a stuffed pig's foot, and for the genuine aceto balsamico tradizionale di Modena DOP, the precious and very expensive condiment made simply by cooking down grape must, then aging for years and even decades in a battery of barrels of decreasing size, each made from a different type of wood. Just a drop or two of this precious elixir on a nugget of aged Parmigiano Reggiano, on fior di latte gelato, or on strawberries is a real treat indeed, something not to be missed. Regional boundaries, though sometimes seemingly arbitrary, do indeed mark transitions in cuisine too. When we cross the Po into Lombardy, the ricotta and spinach filling for the tortelli of Emilia-Romagna is, in Viadana and Mantua, replaced with a filling of cooked pumpkin, crumbled sweet amaretti biscuits, fruit mustard, and Parmigiano Reggiano. The stuffed pasta usually served bathed in melted butter and sage. I'm looking forward to tucking into a big bowl of this favorite, strangely sweet and savory at the same time, and will accompany it with a good few glasses of Testa Rossa Metodo Classico sparkling wine from the outstanding La Versa Cooperative Winery in the Oltrepo Pavese. It's produced from 100% Pinot Nero with secondary fermentation in the bottle with a minimum of 60 months aging on the lees prior to dégorgement. Beautifully rich and complex, and an ideal partner to the pumpkin ravioli. Day 13, Rovigo to Vicenza, 180 kilometers with 1,600 meters of climbing. We are now in Veneto, the vast region that once was part of the Republic of Venice's terra firma hinterland, where the gentle and mainly benign influence of the Lion of St. Mark is found in towns and cities across the region. Today's route appears flat, but it does have something of a sting in the tail, passing through the winelands of Colli Berici and through Vicenza, the beautiful city of Palladio, before making a further circuit that features a climb to Arcugnano and a nasty finish that averages 7.1% with a final ramp that rears up to 12%. The reward at the end? A plate of Vicenza's most famous dish, baccalà alla Vicentina, stockfish or air-dried cod that has been reconstituted in several changes of water before slow cooking with onions, anchovies, and milk, served always with a filling portion of polenta. The best wine to pair with baccalà alla Vicentina? My choice, without doubt, is Valvopara Vespaiolo from the acclaimed Macolin winery in Briganze. The ripe yellow fruit balanced by a streak of fresh acidity that partners well with the richness of the baccalà. Day 14, Treviso to Nova Gorizia, 195 kilometers, 1,100 meters of climbing. From the flat lowlands of Veneto, the route now heads north into Friuli Venezia Giulia, then crosses the border into Slovenia. Though mainly flat, there are a few bumps as it passes through the wine hills of Collio and Slovenia's Brda, before a fast, flat finish into Nova Gorica, which, with Italian Gorizia on the other side of the frontier, is in 2025 the combined European cultural capital, the first transnational capital to receive this honor. Stage 14 is this year's designated wine stage, and it is fitting, in a moment when the world should be taking down borders, not constructing them, that the route passes through the contiguous winelands of Collio and Brda. Stunningly beautiful, and both the source of outstanding wines that pair with a richly complex and delicious cuisine that also reflects a cultural and historic crossroads where Italian, Slovenian, and Austro-Hungarian influences all meet deliciously. I'm feasting this evening on a big bowl of iotta, usually considered mainly a winter dish, but who cares? It's so delicious I could eat it at any time of year. This thick and filling soup is made from beans, pork, sauerkraut, fermented turnips, and potatoes, usually served with a good dollop polenta alongside, just to make sure it fills any gaps you might still have. An ideal restorative to build strength for the mountain challenges that begin tomorrow. And in keeping with a borderless Europe on lands not long ago divided by an Iron Curtain, I'm heading to the Gradisciutta winery, where Robert Princic has long understood and valued the deep affinities and relationships between Collio and Burda, where the Ribolla Gialla and Ribolla vines reign supreme. His Ribolium is a classic method sparkling wine made from Ribolla Gialla, Ribolla grapes, grown on both sides of today's border between Italy and Slovenia. Truly a wine without frontiers. Day 15, from Fiume Veneto to Asiago, 219 kilometers, 3,900 meters of climbing. We're now on day 15, the last day of the second week before a rest day tomorrow, and at last we have a proper mountain stage. The first half of the ride is mainly flat before reaching the charming town of Bassano del Grappa and the 25-kilometer ascent of the mighty Monte Grappa. As often happens on reaching a summit, the road immediately plunges back down before a final second category ascent to Enego and Dori, and then a final mainly rolling 20 kilometers to the finish in Asiago. This is probably not a day that will give an opportunity for any of the leaders to put time between themselves and the competition. Rather, a test of legs, a presage for the rigors of the mountains that will follow in week 3. We are in the month of May, the brief season for one of the best annual treats that I always look out for if I find myself in Veneto at this time, the Asparago Bianco del Bassano. DOP, the white asparagus that is cultivated on the sandy soils around Bassano del Grappa. The spears are thick, white, tender, and full of flavor, slightly bitter on the finish, and I think that they're absolutely unsurpassed. The classic local way to enjoy this seasonal treat is to gently boil the asparagus, then serve with a thick sauce made from hard-boiled eggs mashed by hand, sometimes tableside theatrically with copious quantities of good, local, extra virgin olive oil. I'll pair this with a Pinot Bianco di Braganza from Beato Bartolomeo. And after the asparagus, if I'm still feeling a bit peckish, I'll simply enjoy a slab of Asiago Mezzano DOP cheese, one of my all-time favorites, perhaps with a glass of Pinot Nero from the same winery. To finish, it would be rude not to have a tot of grappa from Bassano del Grappa, maybe just a splash in my espresso to make a caffè corretto. Stage 15 marks the end of the second week, with a rest day to follow, the race recommencing again on Tuesday, May 27th. Stay tuned for my third gastronomic Giro d'Italia 2025 installment that will give a preview to the final and often decisive week. A dopo. We hope today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.